Life isn't a matter of milestones, but of moments. That's a quote by Rose Kennedy that I think we should apply to the year 2020. Because for many, 2020 did not come with very many milestones at all. For some, none at all. But here's the thing, 2020 did bring a lot of moments. So in this episode, we're going to really take inventory of those moments and pull out the ones that mattered the most. Because no matter how bad 2020 was for you, if we're going to reset and go into this next year that's coming up within a week and have the right mentality as we go into this next year, if we're going to do that, it's very important that we take inventory of the moments and acknowledge, become aware, and appreciate the ones that mattered the most. Merry Christmas, everybody! Feels so good, don't it? This should be the national anthem for Christmas. It really should be. Like, nothing feels more Christmassy than Donny Hathaway on the mic singing this Christmas. So I'm submitting that petition. This will be the Christmas national anthem. I don't want to hear any of these other whack Christmas songs. I'm just playing. I love Christmas songs. They're all great, but this is the one I'm going to vote for. The anthem of Christmas. All right. Welcome back to the Joshua Mentality, ladies and gentlemen. This is Christmas week. Believe it or not, it is here. It is here in full effect, and I can't believe it. It's been like a blur. I feel like yesterday was Thanksgiving, and then you blink, and we're already just a few short hours away from celebrating yet another Christmas. So if no one else has said it to you, Merry Christmas. I know everybody's out there. We're doing a lot of happy holiday type stuff, but I'm not a happy holiday type of guy. I want my Merry Christmas. So I feel like I have to, make sure I give that to you all because that's what I like. Tell me Merry Christmas so it feels like Christmas. Keep your politically correct happy holidays. All right, listen, I digress. Let's jump into today's episode. If you can't tell already, I'm very excited. This is something that I like to do on my personal time towards this time of year. I live as it is kind of in my head, I would say. I'm one that very much like to think a lot. That's just kind of my personality. But I think it gets turned up a notch. Number one, when we're towards the end of a new year or towards the end of an old year, going into a new year. And number two, when we're coming out of a pandemic. So, those two things I think are reasons to have a little bit more introspection and thought, kind of circulating throughout your mind. And this might surprise you, but this is probably the most energized I've been around this topic because I'm not the guy that recognizes the moments most of the time. In fact, as I've shared with you all in previous episodes, I'm usually just kind of right in the middle from an emotional and awareness perspective. And if moments represented like the little fireflies people go outside and catch in jars, my jar would have probably very little ones that I've intentionally caught. Because I've historically, let's just be honest, I've been bad at really appreciating and acknowledging moments. Prime example, I recently graduated and got my master's, and if not for my wife, I don't think anybody in my circle would have even really been aware, just because simply for me, I was already on to the next thing and just thinking about the next step. And that's just how I'm built, really. My mind really too much lives in the future, but it's important. It's very important. And I've learned this through valuable people in my circle who have helped me realize the importance of stopping every now and then and taking inventory of the moments that mattered the most. Because we really we're not promised good moments. We're not promised bad moments. We're not promised any moments. The only significant thing about moments is our ability to stop and acknowledge, become aware, and to more than anything, appreciate, because that's what it really boils down to. And I know 2020 for a lot of us sucked. But here's the thing, even in the midst of that gigantic mud of suckiness, there are opportunities to grab out some gold nuggets of appreciation and things that we can take into 2021 that will really help us, bless us, and catapult us towards our destiny. So here's how we're going to do that. I use 6 moments to really take inventory of my life and the moments that matter the most throughout this year. I want to share those 6 with you so that you can do the same. Now, all 6 may not apply. If it's not applicable, skip it. You don't have to answer each one of these. I don't want to stress you out. I want you to think of this as if you and I were sitting at a table for lunch and just having a normal conversation, and you were just talking to me person to person, nothing, no judgment, no pressure to have some eloquent answer. If you ain't got no answer, that's fine. We can find one. You got a week, maybe something will sprout up just from having the question, okay? So the first moment that I think we should take inventory of, and if you know me, you know this moment is so appropriate because, as many of you know, I live my life 80% on the edge of not really taking too serious and laughing at as much as I can. I like to find humor in the most awkward of situations just because it makes it easier to deal with, for one. And then there's the 20% that I have to be an adult, because I'm told at some point you have to display the characteristics of an adult. So there's a 20%, threshold in there where I have to be serious and really look at things from a serious perspective. But I rather live my life in the 80 of just laughing as much as I can. So the moment that we want to first take inventory of is what was the funniest moment for you this past year? What moment, when you think back, you can say, I laughed my natural born tail off because of this? I remember that. What's that moment for you? If you're struggling, I'll help you out by sharing. For me, I never realized how much joy comes with being a dad. If you're unaware, this year in March, I became a dad for the first time. My wife gave birth to our first son, and we laughed so much together. And I can think of several moments this year, even the moments when he was like screaming his head off, I'm sitting there laughing because, number one, I'm a weirdo like that who finds it funny that this little, 10-pound human being thinks he has control over something that he's trying to force. And that just tickles me. So that's an example of a moment for me moments for me that I found to be the funniest. The second, my wife and I, we were very involved in our local church. And one of the things early on in the year, before she was too pregnant for us to host anymore, but we did something that's known as small groups, connect groups, where we have people over to our house and we just talk about topics of faith. We talk about Jesus. We talk about our lives and really build relationships together, build community. And can I tell you, those nights were some of the nights that my cheeks hurt from laughing so bad. And just to give you some examples of some topics that we would cover, because a lot of us in this group grew up poor. So when poor people get together and start sharing stories, you will find laughter over the stupidest of things. For one example, we were laughing over the fact of many of us grew up in poor neighborhoods where Czech soda was the thing. Like you could not go to anyone's house and not see a can of strawberry Czech soda. And yes, most of these people were black, if you're wondering, because I guess that's just a thing. Czech soda and poor black people is a thing. So that's just an example of something that I found to be some funny moments, which it really helps when I can stop and take inventory of those moments because they put a smile on my face. So back to the original question, as we open up our inventory of moments, what were the moments that you laughed? That you really had one of those gut-wrenching laughs that left your cheeks hurting? Think about what that was for you in your life. Up next, this one's on the opposite end of the spectrum, but still important. What were the moments or moment that stands out to you from 2020 that drove you to tears? Now, this doesn't have to be tears of sadness. This can be something that happened that brought forth tears of elation or excitement. But what was that moment? What was that moment that moved your emotions so much so that your body found it necessary to release toxins? Because that's what crying really is. It either releases toxins or releases those inner emotions that if we bottle them up and we keep them inside, they don't do well. They end up exploding on either side of the spectrum, whether it's excitement or sadness. Bottling those things up are more harmful than they are helpful. So take a moment. Whatever it is, acknowledge it. Think about it. What was that moment that stands out to you when you think about 2020 that drove you to tears? Is there anything since then that you can pull from it that was good? Is there anything that you can pull from it that you learned that you never want to encounter, or an action that you never want to replicate again? I don't know what the significance of this moment is for your life, but I do know all moments can, if we allow them to, have significance. And this is definitely one. So what was that moment for you that drove you to tears? If you're someone that says, Joshua, there isn't a moment that stands out to me that drove me to tears, that's okay. But I would challenge you to think about why that may be. Is it because nothing happened that warranted that response from you? Or is it because you might be practicing a technique known as sweeping under the rug technique? And I know for men especially, we do this in order to not be driven to tears or to not encounter the reality that is many emotions that we've never released. All right. So that's number 2. Up next is a moment of pride. What's the moment that you're most proud of? Most pride. Did I really just say that? What's the moment that you're most proud of? Which one stands out to you that really boosts your esteem? That makes you feel like not all of 2020 was a loss, that you actually accomplished something that you're proud of. And this doesn't have to be anything major or large. It just has to matter to you. Okay. For some of you, you're proud of the fact that you didn't slap anybody in 2020. Like that's a major thing. You know, you had opportunities where your emotions could have gotten the best of you, but you did not. I joke partially, but seriously though, what are you most proud of from this year? What stands out to you? I could share a lot from my end, but this ain't about me. It's about you. What are you most proud of? Don't tell me there's nothing that you can be proud of from 2020. I ain't buying that. There's definitely something. It may just be a moment that you overlooked because you don't think it's significant. But I will challenge your lack of value for significant moments. Even the smallest of accomplishments are worth being proud of. So if you have not done so, you got a week left. Find something you can look back and be proud of, because your life matters too much to buy into this lie that it's produced nothing this year to be proud of. Nope. Find it. What is it? Take inventory and acknowledge and appreciate that moment. All right. What number are we on? That was 3. So 4. Number 4. This is another moment that I like to take, that I use to take inventory. And that moment is what has taught me the most. So I ask you, what is the moment that taught you the most this year? And I think that question, more than any other year we've probably had of recent memory, there were a lot of lessons to learn this year. because a lot has gone down from from I think every aspect you can name, you probably can find some monumental moments that have taken place. For me, I know personally, I've learned a lot about me. I'm an extrovert predominantly. I do on the spectrum, I'm kind of in the middle, but predominantly I'm an extrovert. I've learned why the balance of relationships, meaning having people, being able to interact with people, and alone time is so important. Because over the last 9 months or so, I've had a lot of alone time with this darn pandemic. And I've noticed how it's impacted my mood and my energy when I don't have a good balance of being around people, because people bless me. I get energized by being around people and being around life purpose and encouraging people to live their best life, or just being a friend, being there laughing, having a good time. I enjoy those things. And so that's something that has taught me, because sometimes I can get into my shell and have a little bit of tunnel vision, and that causes my relationships to suffer. But I've learned this year, it's taught me a lot of how important that is and how much we take it for granted. Because I've never been forced to stay in the house. This is the first time since my mama forced me to stay in the house, but that's another story for another day. But yes, what moment what moment that taught you the most this year? What was it? What taught you the most, and what are you doing with that lesson? All right. I think we're at 5 now, and that leads us to, what moment are you looking forward to the most? As we are only a week out from 2021, what is it that's making you hopeful for 2021? Besides not wearing masks and not having to deal with a darn pandemic, that's the free bingo slot. I want to know something at the personal level for you. What are you looking forward to? And this is important, because as I've said this many times on this podcast, life begins at hope. And if you ain't hoping for something right now, that's a dangerous red flag. Because we should always be in a posture of expectation and hopefulness. And if you're not, I would suggest that your life may very well be, and this sounds like a very profound statement, but I believe it with all my heart. Your life may be at stake. Your life purpose is definitely at stake if there's nothing you're hoping for in front of you. And I'm not talking about material things. I'm talking about things of substance. And if you want to know more about that, go back a few podcast episodes and listen to what we mean when we say substance. But what are you looking forward to? And why? I guess that if I add that in, then you have to bring some substance to the conversation. My hope is that whatever you're looking forward to would spark hope within you and drive you to a greater 2021 than you had in 2020. That's my hope for you. And that brings us to our last moment, which for some of you might be a little uncomfortable because you've never thought about this moment. But remember, this is based off of my life, and this is a moment that I take inventory of. So here's the moment. What moment with God this year stands out to you the most? How many times this year did you take an opportunity to bring your fears, bring your frustrations, bring your worries, and set them at the feet of God and have a moment? How often? And what was that moment like when you decided to do that? What stands out to you when you look back over 2020 that is really special to you? There was a term that I was reading an article from an author named Joshua Becker. And he used a term that I've really grown to like, talking about moments. He says when we take inventory, or when we think about moments and we take time to appreciate moments in our life, we add color to our life and our life purpose. And I like the term of adding color to our lives, Because here's what this does, and here's how this relates to this last question. I look at God as the great artist over all of us. I think the beauty of our earth, the beauty of our world, everything great, everything beautiful about our world is God's craftsmanship. And so when we think about moments and we review moments, and if they add color to our lives, then when you think about colors, here's the thing about colors. There's dark colors, there's light colors, there's colors in between in that medium range, and moments are the same way. There are moments that are light and maybe don't really stand out. There are moments that are bright, that are exciting, that you can pull and gravitate to, that make us happy and bring us, positive emotions. And then there are some dark moments. There are dark moments that aren't very exciting. Don't feel very good. But here's how that connects to the great artist. When we take moments, or I should say when we take the time to have a moment with God, we bring all those colors and we give them to him. And we allow a beautiful image, a beautiful piece of art to be created. And that's what I'm believing for you in your 2020. I'm believing that just like any other phenomenal piece of art that we see, and we see all the combination of all the colors and how they make this great, picture, I'm believing that your life, your 2020, when you look back, you'll be able to pull out, take an overview, a scope, a wide lens scope, and you'll see moments of just one moment put together of beauty. But we can only do that when we make time for the great artist. We can only see this kind of imagery when we bow our eyes down and allow God to use us as a conduit to see what he sees when he looks at our 2020. I hope this inventory was helpful. I hope that it encourages you and adds value to your life as you look forward to what's up ahead of us. We don't know, but I do know this is a great step towards setting the pace for what's ahead. And I hope you've enjoyed it. You've been listening to the Joshua Mentality. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment. I've been seeing the comments and I'm really excited. It's really helpful. So keep those things coming. Hit that notification bell. And remember, this is available on all streaming platforms. And before I get out of here, I got to get the Christmas spirit flowing again because we only got a few more hours. So I'm going to take advantage. And so have a Merry Christmas. And remember, success is your destiny.